Don't close the coffin yet. I'm alive. Don't know why that was not popped up, but you know, it's whatever. We're chilling. We're here chilling. Final spoilers for Aetherdrift. As expected, they were revealed on Friday, which was yesterday. And so we're gonna talk about the last bit. There's like 62 cards or something, but a lot of these are going to be commons, so they'll be relatively simple to walk through. We're just going to talk about mostly their application and limited, unless of course otherwise stated. Hey, look, Lightning Strike. It's a reprint. Okay, that's actually pretty dope. I don't think I've seen that art. It's definitely not my favorite Lightning Strike. I think my favorite Lightning Strike is Okeranos. Spell Pierce, it's being reprinted. I barely know what's going on in this art, which means I don't like it. Alacrian Armory. So Alacria is the green-white faction that has mounts and tings. 3 and a white for an artifact. Creatures you control get +0/+1 and have vigilance. Beginning combat in your turn, choose up to one target mount or vehicle you control until end of turn. That permanent becomes saddled if it's a mount, and becomes an artifact creature if it's a vehicle. Interesting. So, I don't know how good this would be in limited, because it does cost 4. The vigilance is nice. But like, playing this on turn 4, you're not adding to your board. So you need to have like a really good, like 3-mana mount or vehicle. This is like a, what is it? That's 15. It's like a 40th pick or something like that. Like this is like I'm solidly in the mount and vehicle strategy, and like my curve is fine. This I can justify playing this, but otherwise I'm not. My nose is stuffed. I shall return. I'm back. Hard to talk. Yeah, I'm not very enthused by that. Light Wheel enchantments. Single white for an aura, enchant creature or vehicle. Start your engines. Enchant a permanent gets +1/+1 and has vigilance and max speed. You may cast this card from your graveyard. It's a very strong card. It's another like very cheap start your engines card. Obviously, this isn't something you can do on turn 1 because you need something to attach it to. That said, being able to constantly buy this back without like an exile clause or anything like that, I would not be surprised if that's very strong in the deck that's like an aggressive max speed deck, where you're like, I'm playing this, I'm swinging, I'm racing, that's what I'm doing. Haha, get it, race. And then, you know, early on, your creature ends up dying in combat, you can just get this back, right? Obviously, it depends on how easy it is to get max speed, which I've said with pretty much all of these cards. But if it's not horribly hard, I think this has a lot of potential, especially at common. Like this is an aura that I wouldn't actually mind playing because of the fact that you can get it back, right? As I've said before, one of the issues with auras in limited, especially, it's everywhere, but in limited especially, is you try and play it on one of your creatures, your creature gets killed in response, you've now functionally like lost a turn. With this, sure, you've technically still lost the turn, but you haven't lost the same amount of resources that you did. Oh, that's probably why. Sorry. I have ADHD, fuck you. But yeah, so you don't lose all of the resources. So that is like a benefit to this. being playable. Deathless Pilot. Good old-fashioned 1 in a black 2/2 zombie pilot. This creature saddles mount. It doesn't need this, man. I mean, it probably does, but whatever. This creature saddles and crews as though its power were 2 greater. So this saddles and crews is 4 power. 3 and a black, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. They're just printing really strong grizzly bears. There's so many grizzly bears in the set that are really, really good. I don't know. The thing is, I thought the mount and vehicle decks... So, like, I thought the vehicle decks were red in something. It's not white, because I think that's the max speed. And then the mount deck is green and white. I'd have to look at the intended draft stuff, and I can actually do that because we have all the cards now. So I can just find the staple, no, signpost uncommons. But yeah, no, this is really good. Early on, it's a grizzly bear that can pilot very, very well, and then late in the game, you can just keep getting this thing back. Like, sure, it's 6 mana to do so, but it's literally I can block anything on the ground every turn for 6 mana until I get, you know, the card that I need to swing the game back in my favor, right? I like the card. Also, the person looks dead. Push it to the limit. Walk along the railroad. Push the limit. 5 dub red for a sorcery. Return all mount and vehicle cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Vehicles you control become artifact creatures until end of turn. Creatures you control gain haste. It's like Rise of the Dark Realms, but in red. It can only get mounts and vehicles, sure. I think it would have been cool if it made them zombies, but it's not necessary. Is black red the vehicle color? Maybe it is. No, black red's the discard. I don't know. It's 7 mana is the thing. I don't think this is good. 7 mana is a lot. And you'll want how much what do you want in the graveyard for this? Like at least 4 creatures? Or four things that can hit? Preferably like 6? Because this is like, I'm swinging for the win card. And you want, like, if we're assuming that your opponent has, like, 2 creatures on average, then you want, like, 6 so that you can hit with, like, 4 things to deal, like, around 10 damage. This card just feels too expensive. Will it kill people? Yeah, probably. But it just feels like a card that you don't want. Because there are going to be so many situations. Unless this is like your 43rd pick or something. It wouldn't be a pick at 43rd. If it was like your 40th pick or something. And like you know that you have like most of your creatures are mounts. You have or you have a lot of vehicles. Because there are going to be situations where you have creatures in your graveyard that aren't mounts or vehicles. You only have a couple. And this card is like underwhelming. Like if you play it, right, you can wait to get more, or you can play it and not get maximum value, which could possibly lead you to not winning the game. Or more likely, it'll be in your hand early. You're essentially down hand size because, you know, this card is best when you've lost a bunch of stuff. But if you're in a winning position, this card doesn't exist for you, right? It really is just like your max hand size reduced. I don't know. I don't think it's very good. Broadcast Rambler. Oh, you mean me? That's not correct. Oh, okay. I deadass thought this was on his chin. I thought he was doing this. I was like, that's not how that goes. Boop. 4 and a white for a 5/4 vehicle. When this vehicle enters, create a 1/1 color stopped or artifact creature token with flying. Crew 1. It makes the thing that can crew itself, so that is good. It is technically 2 bodies for 1. You have a 5/4 blocker, because you can use the Thopter to crew it on, when your opponent attacks. This card has no evasion. It's probably fine. If you're looking for more vehicles, then this is fine. But it's definitely, this is like a late pack 2 pick, something like that. Something like that. Gallant Strike, 1 and a white for an instant. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Cycling of 2. I mean, this is essentially, right? Momentous Fall? Something like that? I don't know. With set mechanic. Destroy a creature with parameter blank or greater. And technically it's not set mechanic, but whatever. It's cycling. Those effects you usually want access to, but in certain situations, like, they're not good. Say, for example, you're playing against a red-white aggressive deck, where all of their stuff is not big, right? You're going to want to not be holding this in those situations, right? Like, technically you could be like, maybe their top end is going to be big enough to destroy, but it's like, it's likely you're going to be in a situation where it's like, okay, I'm just going to take the slight tempo hit to exchange this card for something that can, you know, be a blocker, that's actual removal that I can use here. So I really do like cards that have cycling that are limited in scope, right? Because this is the point of cycling, in my opinion, is like, it gives you access to hard exchange for tempo loss, but you want the effect sometimes. Guidelight Synergist, 3 and a white for a 0/4 Robot Artificer. It has flying. This creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. So it functionally is a 4-mana 1/4 that flies. 4-mana 1/4 that flies, not bad. Yeah, 4-mana 1/4 that flies, not bad, especially if you're playing the artifact deck, which is white-blue, I think? Yeah. Yeah, white-blue makes sense. Yeah, no, this card seems totally fine. I don't think it's, like, particularly insane, but, I mean, it's uncommon. It can get very large late in the game, early on. It blocks pretty well. Yeah, no, it's like most of these cards, it's just fine. Lotus Guard Disciple. Okay, you're not supposed to be dead. Your head is too big for your body. The proportionality is off, but 2 and a white for a 2/2 flyer. When this creature enters, target creature or vehicle gains lifting and indestructible until end of turn. Boo! You don't have flash. Let me protect my things. No one dies under my watch. Yeah, unless it's not my turn. Card's fine. Being able to give something lifelink is very helpful in a lot of situations in Limited. That you know, +4 or 5 life very frequently can mean the difference between losing and winning. Giving something indestructible is fine, but I feel like it's a little less valuable. If your opponent has a Death Touch creature, it's fantastic, because you're like, all right, are you going to block with your Death Touch creature, or are you going to let me dome you for like 5, right? Because Death Touch creatures are very good at holding back big a-holes that don't have like evasion or trample. It also is just a Windrake, so we take those. Like 3-mana 2/2 flyer, sure, we take those. Now, it might not be as good in this environment, but when I'm comparing stat lines for a flyer, Windrake is like what I'm looking at, right? So, Leonin Surveyor, 1 and a white for a 2/2 Cat Scout. More bears. With Start Your Engines. During your turn, this creature has first strike. Max speed, pay 3, exile this card from your graveyard, and draw a card. Yeah, I mean, hi Query. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This set is printing so many, good bears. Now, when I say good bears, you know, I don't necessarily mean, like, good bears that are going to see play in Modern, right? I'm talking about, like, I would love this card in Limited, right? It's a 2-mana 2/2. On your turn, has first strike, which is fine. right? Wizards have talked a lot about situational first strike because, especially for limited, they want to encourage attacking. So they have tried to do this a lot more. They still don't do it a ton, but they try to do this a lot more. Where like during your turn, it has that advantage because if it, and I'm gonna be honest, I would do the same thing if it just had first strike. I'd be leaving this back so often, right? It's like first strike is such a very good defensive tool because as soon as you have two things with first strike, your opponent is boned, man. So I do appreciate that this is like, hey, you should be attacking. This is a card in a color combination that wants you to be attacking. Yeah, it is good. And then max speed of 3 to slow cycle, essentially. It is once again very good. Right, early game, you had this as a good bear. It dies. Once you have a late game situation where you have excess mana, just rolling around, bada bing, bada boom, it turns into another card. Right, like I think this is a very strong common. Sundial, Dawn Tyrant. We have a full cycle of legendary creatures from Muraganda that do nothing. I don't exactly understand why they decided to make them legendary creatures, but it is funny. I mean, it's a one and a white for a 3/3 construct. Like, it's a Watch Wolf that's easiest to cast. It is legendary. It's an uncommon, so like you're not going to see it so frequently that you're likely going to get a bunch in a single deck and like bone yourself from it. But 2 out of 3. Hey, look, it eats grizzly bears, right? It eats grizzly bears. It crews/saddles for 3 instead of the grizzly bear 2. It looks cool. No, yeah, I think it's interesting. I was very curious what the white Muraganda card was going to be, because most of what we have from Muraganda is like lush, like foresty type mana, and foresty type mana is not. I mean, it essentially is like fucking Jund mana, right? It's not very, very white. Probably shouldn't have said the H there. Voyager Quick Welder. Robot. Oh my god, it has a little tongue. Alright, that's adorable. It's doing like the cartoon trope. 2 and a white for a 2/4 robot artificer. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This card is dumb. For even a 2/4, dude. This is better than Pillar Field Ox. Is it Pillar Field or Pillar Fort? Pillar Field. Pillar Field Ox. It's a better Pillar Field Ox with more upside. Absolutely cracked. Yeah, this card is... If you're playing artifacts, this card's dumb. If you're not playing artifacts, this card's still pretty good. Again, this blocks grizzly bears for days. But it doesn't just block them, it eats them, right? This consumes grizzly bears. Yeah, you do not need to be playing artifact spells to put this in your deck. This I think is just a straight up good good common for like stat line alone. Now obviously it's better when you play it in an artifact deck, but at common you're gonna see this enough that like, you know, in early-ish mid pack 2, you're gonna be like, you know what? I'm playing white, I'll take this. And you will not be upset about it. Yeah. It good. Holy fuck. Pig hands? Alright, I have to look at more of your art. Swiftwing Assailant. It's an artifact itself. Very true. They scale. They do. Play that turn 3. Oh, fuck me, actually. It is a common. Theoretically, you could get a lot of these in a single draft. Like, especially if you're being very snappy about them. So at turn 3, you play 1. Turn 4, you play 2 of them because they each... Oh shit, you could play 3 of them. Because the first one costs you 2. And then the next one costs 1. You can play this on turn 3. And on turn 4, you play 3 more. You have an army of robots. And then you play the 4 mana flyer. Bada bing, bada boom. You have a 5/4 flyer? 1, 3, 4. Yeah, you have a 5/4 flyer for 1 mana. Who doesn't love it? Anyway, Swift-Wing Assailant, 3 and a white for a 3/3 bird warrior with flying and start your engines. This creature, at max speed, this creature gets +0/+1 and has vigilance. Yeah, it's fine. 4 mana, 3/3 flyer. That's kind of the bait rate you're looking for. And then it has set mechanic. So yeah, this is pretty much what you'd expect. Pig hands. What else have you done? Oh shit. Okay. That scares me. Cool. So this is their first normal card. Everything else has been a like special piece. Gear Seeker Serpent. This is a reprint, isn't it? Yeah. Interesting. They Jean-Pierre did like a direct homage to the OG Philippe's art. That's very interesting. I believe this sees play in Pauper, but I'm not entirely sure. 5 blue serpent, 5/6 affinity for artifacts. 5 blue. This creature can't be blocked this turn. White blue is the artifact color. This has the ability of just chunking your opponent for 5 late in the game. Could be your top end in an artifact deck. Not well. It's deceptive. Affinity is always kind of scary. Yeah, like 7 mana is deceptive. I think you could really like easily play this as 5 mana, like consistently, and then you know the next turn, like play this on turn 5, 4/5, and then on turn 6, you just start chunking them for a fourth of their life. I would not be surprised if this is a really good uncommon or common pickup, but you don't pick this early. You pick this like once you're established in artifacts, when you know you're going that route. Because if you pick this early and you're getting consumed, you know, someone else is drafting artifacts, then it puts you in a bad position where you picked a card that can be insane, but too early, so it's not. What the fuck? Yeah, what the matter? Glitch Ghost Surveyor. 2 and a blue for a 2/2. Windrake. Spirit Scout with flying. Start your engines. Oh, what the fuck? Max speed. 3. Exile this card from your graveyard. Draw a card. Is this a cycle? That might be a cycle. Let me pull up. How about at the after party? Let's see. Cycles. They didn't put it in cycles. It doesn't mean it's not a cycle, though. I'll be able to double check. It's Windrake with upside, man. Now, blue isn't the start your engine strategy, but having access to it is still pretty good, because you can splash cards easily that utilize the mechanic. So, look, it's Windrake with upside. Guidelight Optimizer. 1 and a blue for a 2/1 robot. Tap at a blue, spend this mana only to cast an artifact spell or activate an ability. Notably, this is any ability. It does not have to be an ability from an artifact source. It is activate an ability. So, fun fact, cycling is an ability. So you can use this to cycle things. Try to think of other abilities that I've seen frequently in this set that cost mana, but... Oh, Exhaust. Exhaust is an ability, so you can use that for this, even if the exhaust card that you're using isn't an artifact. So, cool card. Only to cast an artifact spell. So notably, this can't cast your affinity serpent, but you know, it's whatevs. Seems fine. I'm typically not a fan of 2/1s, but that's mostly because I get high on grizzly bears. So, yeah, if you're playing the artifact deck, this is a reasonable pickup, because it still does fight grizzly bears right? It can trade with grizzly bears, and you're typically not having this in combat early anyway. Like the point of this card is to ramp you into your more expensive artifacts. So, Memory Guardian. There's no such thing as junk. This is adorable. I want to see where these things came from. I want to visit this homeworld, dude. I will say, like, I haven't seen much. I've seen some people complain about the idea of Aetherdrift, where it's like, it's the fucking wacky racers. What are you doing, wizards? This is stupid. What are we, Hanna-Barbera now? You're putting card racing in my Magic the Gathering. This doesn't feel like high fantasy or whatever the fuck it is. I've not seen very many people complain about these robots. I'm a little surprised. I'm happy that I haven't seen much. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I'm happy that I don't see much of the complaints about these robots. Like, I feel like there was more complaints about Outlaws of Thunder Junction. But it's possible, like, at this point, now, people have accepted that Magic doesn't have to just be, like, essentially European fantasy tropes. Like, it could be more things. I think that's dope. Yeah. Memory Garden. 4 and a blue for a 3/4. That's not great stats. It has flying. That is actually fine. That's, like, baseline. Like, 5 mana 3/4 flyer is roughly the type of thing you'd be looking at. But it has affinity for artifacts, which means it's not going to cost 5. it's just not going to cost 5. Actually, turn 2, play that. Turn 3, you have 3 mana, 1 artifact, and it taps for blue. You can play that on turn 3. Play Optimizer on turn 2. Turn 3, you can play this, because you have 3 mana from their lands. You have an artifact, reducing this by 1, aka giving you a mana, and then you tap the mana from the artifact, dude. Yeah, no, it's this card is going to be cheaper than it looks. How frequently do I think you can play this early? Like, if you turn 1 an artifact, turn 2 an artifact, you can still play this on turn 3. And so, like, looking at this maybe as, like, a 3.5 mana card? Because then you can do 2, turn 3. Yeah, I mean, I think you can reasonably look at this card as, like, a 3.5 or 4 mana card in the early game. Once you get to the late game, this can cost 1 pretty easily, depending on your deck. Like, this Affinity does not care about if it's a card or not. So this works with tokens is what I'm saying. Keen Buccaneer. That is horrifying. I want to go to this plane too. Like, the issue is that we've kind of had pirates on Ixalan. But I'm liking the weird fish pirates, man. What was that? Pirates 4? Pirates 3? I don't know. 2 and a blue for a 2/3 octopus pirate with vigilance. Exhaust, 1 and a blue, draw a card, then discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. I mean, it's a 3-mana 2/3 with vigilance, so it consumes grizzly bears while being able to attack freely. You know, you attack in, you can block grizzlies on the crackback, and then at any point it can essentially become a 5-mana 3/4 that draws a card. Excuse me, it loots a card. It's not one of the exhaust cards that I like as much as the others. This is definitely, like, in the lower half. But 3-mana 2/3 vigilance and mana sink late game, I like those. Early card, decent stats with late game mana sinks. Mwah, delicious. Sabotage Strategist, 2 dub blue for a 2/2 Vidalcan Ranger. Flying, vigilance. That's kind of expensive there, Justin. Whenever one or more creatures attack those creatures get -1/-0 until end of turn. Okay, It's 4 mana, 2/2. But when stuff attacks you, it gets smaller. Those creatures, okay. And then exhaust 5 blue, put 3 1/1 counters on this creature. Yeah, no, this is also pretty nice. 4 mana flying vigilance. Like, if 3 mana we're looking at a Windrake, then you do get the vigilance, which is not a full mana, do not get me wrong. Especially not an entire blue pip worth of mana. But the vigilance, in addition to the decrease in your opponent's ability to murder you, I think that's worth the additional blue. And then on top of it, it has exhaust. And the exhaust does make it a 5/5. It costs 7, which is a lot. But that's not a 7 that is always going to be paid in your games, right? A lot of times this is just going to be a 4 mana 2/2 flyer that kills your opponent because they are too slow at killing you. I like it. I love the fact that dude 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I love the fact that dude has 4 arms, but 2 of them are robotic. But his robotic arms still have 6 phalanges, 6 digits, because that's what the Vidalcan on Kaladesh have. The Vidalcan on Mirrodin had 4 arms, I think. Where the fuck is Mirrodin? Okay, yeah. The Mirrodin Vidalcan did indeed have 4 arms. Yeah. Reasonable cards, reasonable. Nimble Thopterist. 3 and a blue for a 3/2 Vidalcan Artificer. When this creature enters, create a 1/1 Colosthopter artifact creature token with flying. 4 mana 3/2. It's essentially a 4 mana 4/3. I'm not a giant fan of 4 mana 4/3s. I've said that prior, but it's because I prefer fat asses in Magic the Gathering. I'm the type of person who would prefer a 4 mana 3/4 as opposed to a 4/3. Part of this does have flying. Nipple Thopterist. No. This is one of those comments where it's like, I need a, 23rd card. Maybe I'm wrong, but this feels like a 23rd card type card to me. Scrounging Skyray. That looks so incredibly. That's not where Stingray's eyes are. I guess it's a Skyray. Their eyes are on top of their heads. Whatever, this dude's arms are way too fucking big for what it is. It's creepy shit. Anyway, 1 and a blue for a 1/2 flying fish pirate. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, put that many 1/1 counters on this creature. Cycling of 2. 2 mana 1/2 flyer. That's good by itself. 2 mana 1/2 flyer. Early evasion, you can kind of keep popping in, hitting them, especially if you are playing with any of the speed cards. And then you just get random upside. Since cycling's in this format, you have some of that there. Paired with red, you have like looting type effects, and then paired with black, you just have cards that can discard. It's good. Stall out. 1 and a blue for a sorcery. Tap target creature vehicle, then put 3 stun counters on it. That is a lot of stun counters. This is Azra. Cycling of 2. Again, this is kind of a situational spell, although it's less situational than some of the others. Stunning something for 3, technically 2 turns, is pretty dang good. Well, okay, so you play this on something big, they go to their turn, they can't untap. Can't untap. Can't untap. No, it actually straight up is 3. Yeah, no, this is cracked. If it was instant, this card would be like broke F because it'd be 4 turns. Because you instant speed on their turn, it has 3 counters. Then their turn, then they get to untap with it. So, yeah, no, this feels like a very strong pseudo removal spell. I do like that it also works on vehicles, because it means like if your opponent has creatures that you don't really care about, but those creatures are being used to crew something that's spooky, then you can get the thing that's actually spooky. Now you might be saying, well, couldn't they just like, if you tap their creature that's crewing it, doesn't that solve the problem? No, because they can top deck a creature and crew that bitch and hit you in the face. So no, it is that. Spectral Interference, spooky. 1 in a blue for an instant counter target artifact or creature spell unless its controller pays 4. Hey, it's Mana Leak, but worse. So this is a conditional counter spell. That is a soft counter spell. So it's conditional because it can only hit certain things, and it's soft because it can be paid for. The counter can be avoided. I think in this format, this card is good. The format is very artifact/creature heavy. And as such, I do believe it is good. Yes, yeah. If this were quote-unquote normal format, I don't like this card. I mean, it does cost 2. I don't know. I don't play blue enough to know if this is good. Sky Streak Engineer. You shouldn't be streaking at all. 1 in a blue for a 1/3 flying human pilot. With exhaust, 4 in a blue, put 2 1 counters on this creature. 2 would be a 3/5. So it starts out as 2 mana, 1/3 flyer. So it blocks Windrakes, blocks Grizzly Bears, obviously, and then it can just, ping your opponent, which means it's pretty reasonable in a flyer max speed deck, I suppose. And then later in the game, when you have excess mana lying around, it just becomes bigger. Yeah, I mean, this is good if you're looking for exhaust abilities, if you're looking for evasion in a max speed deck, or if you're just playing flyers. Trip Up. How could you do that to that adorable lizard, man? That's pretty fucked. You Kaladesh? No, you're a Vishkar now. Avishkari monster. 3 in a blue. For an instant, target non-land permanent's owner puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of the library, cycling of 2. It can hit any non-land permanent, which is good. It's an instant, which obviously is preferred. It does cost 4. It gives your opponent the choice of where to put it. Very frequently, it'll be back on top. If it's something that's like worth getting rid of, it's probably something worth keeping around. It does mean that you know their top deck, likely what they're going to be playing on the subsequent turn. And in a pinch, you can cycle it away. It's probably fine. Ancient Vendetta. 3 in a black. For a sorcerer, choose a card name. Search target opponent's graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with the same name. Exile them. Then that player shuffles. Notably, this is a card name. This is not a non-land card name. This is not a non-basic card name. This is a card name. However, it's limited because you can only hit 4. So if you're sick of your opponent playing persistent petitioners, you gotta still use a. I was trying to think of the Necro one to stay in mono black, but I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called. Yeah, so theoretically you can if you want, you can just rip your opponent's lands. I mean, this is not something you play in limited, just for what it's worth. This is like a standard sideboard card. The reason I say standard sideboard card is because there are better versions of this in the other formats. So, Necromnesia. That sounds right. Holy shit. Oh my god, it has a Lazotep tail, dude. It has a Lazotep tail. That is hilarious and very long, I think. Yeah, I think. Tail. Insane. Anyway. Oh, baby, it's a rat. Engine rat. Single black mana for a 1/1 zombie rat with Death Touch. You'll love to see it. But not just that. It has 6 mana. Each opponent loses 2 life. Doesn't target. It's not damage. It loses 2 life. This is like my perfect card. It's a rat. It's a 1 mana creature with Death Touch. And it has a mana sink. It's beautiful. It's perfect. I love it so much. It's a common. I would not be surprised if I play the shit out of this card. We'll have to see though. We'll have to see what I start forcing in this format. Okay, I say chitin, but I hear so many people say chitin. I thought for sure this was chitin. It sounds better to me. So I'm going to continue saying it. Chitin, Gravestalker. 5 and a black for a 5/4 Insect Warrior. The spell costs 1 less for each artifact and or creature card in your graveyard. Cycling of 2. This works nicely with a cycling deck because of the fact that you're going to be potentially cycling cards that are artifact and or creatures into your graveyard. Making this a bit cheaper. So that like you can kind of make up for the tempo loss. I pronounce it chitin too. Yeah. So many people, maybe, I feel like maybe everyone I hear say chitin, maybe they're all British. I can't remember at the moment. But yeah, chitin sounds right. Like chitinous brood. Like that sounds more right than chitinous brood. Anyway. But yeah, this can kind of make up for the quote-unquote tempo loss of cycling earlier on. Insofar as like you're getting a little bit of a rebate on this because you paid a premium early on. 6 mana card, probably more likely to cost about 4.5 mana, something like that. It has no evasion, you know, it's nothing special. It's just big dude. If your deck needs big dude, I guess it's technically like medium big dude. But if your deck needs medium big dude, this is a reasonable medium big dude because early on, you can just cycle it away, right? Like, it's not the best. It does cost a decent amount, but the ability to just cycle it away makes it better. Locust Spray. Adorable. Single black for an instant. Target creature gets a -1/-1 until end of turn, or you can cycle it for a single black. This is a very situational card. Obviously, you can kill 1/1s, but one of the other things you can do with this is, with a ton of artifact creatures. This is cheap. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking it's like 4.5. I don't know how quickly. I can't in a normal deck. I don't know how quickly you have creatures in your yard. So, this reminds me of Skullduggery. It's different, obviously. One of the things that you use this card for is for trading up. So if you attack with 2 Grizzly Bears, your opponent has a 3/3. Ha 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 ha. You don't get to keep your 3/3. It dies. If you're in a situation where you attack with a bunch of Grizzly Bears, your opponent blocks with a Grizzly Bear. Ha ha ha. Your thing dies, mine doesn't. Right? If you're in a situation where like you don't have a sufficient number of creatures to double block and kill something, this can help you with double blocking and killing something. And then like if you're in a situation where this just like does not matter, cycle it away. Hellish Sideswipe. It's a foul. Single black for a sorcery has additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Destroy target creature or vehicle. If the sacrifice... Oh, okay. Additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. Destroy target creature or vehicle. If the sacrifice permanent was a vehicle, draw a card. They could have split this. They didn't have to put this in the same paragraph. They could have put a break here. Because that, I mean, maybe it's just me. That tripped me up. I was like, you're not sacrificing anything. You're destroying something. I had to fucking go back and remember it's like this shit. I don't know. Sack a thing, blow something up. You might be able to recoup your losses. You're playing black. We already saw a card that cares about having artifacts in your graveyard. You can sack one of your vehicles, put it in the yard. You replace it, half of that. 2, 1. Because typically this is a 2 for 1. It's now a 2 for 2. Or, I guess technically it's a 1 for 1. Because it costs 2 cards to hit 1 card, but you're removing one of the costs. So, it's good. Might makes right of way. Someone's very happy about this. I don't think it's funny. Grim Javelineer. Hell yeah, dude. I fucking love Amonkhet people. The Amonkhetti. I don't know if that's the correct. Anyway, 2 and a black for a 3/2 human warrior. Whenever you attack, target attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When that creature dies this turn, surveil 1. Dude, she doesn't give a fuck. Ketty lost everything to the Eternals and the Phyrexians. What she gained was an intimate knowledge of death in its myriad forms. Cool. You can play this on turn 3. Target your bear. Your bear is now attacking as a 3/2. If it dies, you get to surveil. Then when this attacks, it can attack as a 4/2. I've already said I'm not the biggest fan of 3-mana 4/2s, but this is a 3-mana 4/2 that has the ability to get the +1 immediately. And if stuff dies with this effect, you get to surveil. So, of the 3-mana 4/2s, I like this. Now, it is a 3/2 base, but let's be honest, it's a 4/2. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah. Risky Shortcut. What the fuck? They went through a market, man. That's messed up. 2 and a black, sorry. For a sorcery, draw 2 cards. Each player loses 2 life. Ayo. So, scry the bones. You get to scry. I think it's 2. Then you draw 2, then you lose 2. You remove your card selection because there's no longer a scry. But now, you get to share the share the love. Once again, this is loss of life. This is not damage. This is a divination that can act as a shock. Right, this can kill your opponent. This is what I like to call reach, not the keyword, but the concept, where this gives you a little bit of, I don't have to get my opponent to 0, I have to get them to 2, right? Obviously, during limited, this is common, so you can probably have a decent number of these, but, you know, it's not something you should consistently be like, I have to get them to 2. It's like, my opponent's at 2, they now have the tempo, right? The advantage is now kind of theirs. I have an out. I'm not going to concede, because I know since they're at 2, I have a shortcut in my deck that will kill them. I have to just not be at 2. Although if you're at 2, then it's just a tie. So if you want to tie instead of lose. The fuck is happening with that guy's face? I don't like it. Mutant Surveyor. 2 and a black for a 2/3 Mutant Scout. Fall out of ass, motherfucker. With start your engines. 2 generic. This creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Max speed. Hey, look, it's a cycle. Max speed 3. Exile this card from your graveyard. Draw a card. 3 mana 2/3. So we saw the 3 mana 2/3 with Vigilance, the blue version of this essentially. This has a mana sink in it, not just the max speed mana sink for when it's dead, but it has Bad Shade. The shade effect is you pay a black to get +1/+1, but this is 2 generic instead. It's like Bad Shade. Bad Shade's still shade, right? Being able to just pump a bunch of mana into this at instant speed, notably, is very valuable. Right, because like turn 4 you can attack with this, if your opponent has something that's like a 3/3, they're like, well, I don't want to block, obviously. So they just eat it, and you're like, do I have something to play? If no, pump the dude twice. You got extra stuff. If you have yes, it's like, okay, cool. I got free 2 mana in. Right? For what it's worth, one of the other benefits of a shade mechanic in this set is that this creature can be buffed to crew a vehicle or saddle a mount that has a better effect on attack. I don't think it's going to come up a ton, but I do think it's worth noting. Spin out. 1 black for an instant. Destroy target creature or vehicle. I mean, yeah. I love how, like, here we think back to Hero's Downfall. That was a rare in Theros. It got reprinted as uncommon. This is a common. Good stuff. I mean, look, it's 1 black, destroy a thing. This is prime removal. You see this? If you're remotely in black, you take this. You see this early, you're in black now. This set is full of creatures and vehicles. This is almost always going to have a target. It's just being able to make sure that you can play it in your deck because it is double black. But you see it, you take it. Siphon Fuel. That is horrifying. Are you the weird Gastal vampire? Oh, yeah, okay. The oil-thirsting vampires of Gastal finally had their fill. Okay, yeah. Read the flavor text, dumbass. It explains the card. 4 to black for an instant. Target creature gets -6/-6 until end of turn. You gain 2 life. -6/-6 kills a lot of things. In fact, I'm gonna keep this up. I've been closing the tabs. I'm gonna keep this tab open so I can go through and look at how many cards this doesn't kill in this format, because it's going to kill most of them. It is 5 mana. It does gain 2 life. This is playable. Obviously, you want the 3 mana instant, but 2 more mana to gain 2 life, and I mean technically you can hit things that are indestructible. There is the bird that can make something indestructible. So like there's a non-zero number of situations where it's going to be useful in this limited environment. But typically you're just going to destroy something. But yeah, I mean this is still absolutely fine removal. This isn't like first pick removal, but it's high pick, I think. What the fuck? Wreckage Wickerfolk. I hate you, wizards. 1 in a black for a 1/3 flying scarecrow. When this creature enters, surveil 2. Good card's good. It is a flyer that blocks grizzly bears all day. You get some nice card selection early on when it comes out. It's like, okay, I kept a hand that has a little bit too much mana or a little bit not enough mana. You can surveil to help you out. This obviously helps you put creatures and or vehicles in your graveyard for the other card that we saw earlier. It's reasonable. It's an artifact. It's a simple card. And that's that. Okay, I do want to point that out. Right, this is a simple card, despite not being a vanilla creature. But like this is what a common, in my opinion, should look like. Right. Obviously, this isn't meant to be played in, constructed formats. But like, if I'm looking at this in the context of limited, I'm like, okay, it's a 2 mana 1/3 with flying, and it does a thing when it enters. It works within the set because it's an artifact creature. You get to put things into your yard. The surveil is just generally a good limited mechanic because you're going to be able to help out your draws. There's a type of common I like. Motherfucker. Remember when I said I wasn't going to close that? I totally closed that tab. Uh-oh. Okay, that was weird. Burner Rocket. 1 in a red for a 3/1 vehicle with flash. When this creature enters, our creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn. Crew 1. It's a low crew cost, but really this is This is a combat trick. This is a combat trick with a vehicle attached to it. Right, this is where you attack with your grizzly bear, and your opponent blocks with some nonsense, thinking, haha, I've consumed your grizzly bear. I guess technically it would make more sense if you attack with 2 grizzly bears, then they don't have to be as suspicious. And you're just like, boop, I'm giving this +2, haha, your 2/4 still dies, get fucked on. And then like it leaves behind a vehicle. That's how I'm looking at it anyway. You can still use this defensively. It just means the trample isn't as valuable. But you can use this defensively to be like, I'm gonna make the bigger. You. I'm gonna eat your 4 toughness card with my grizzly bear. Yeah. Yeah. I look at this more as a pump spell. Dynamite Diver. Holy Diver! Single red. For a 1/1 Goblin Pilot, this creature saddles and crews, as though its power were 2 greater. When this creature dies, deals 1 damage to any target. Cool. Yep. Too bad you can't flash it in, crew it, and pump it. Yeah, that is slightly unfortunate, but it's probably reasonable that it doesn't do that at common. If it were an uncommon, then I think that level of complexity is a little bit more excusable, but I think at common it's fine. Yeah, even at uncommon, I just don't think it's needed. I do like the ability to have that choice, that option, but I think at the end of the day it's still fine. Dynamite Diver is good. It is a 1-drop creature that can help you out. It doesn't start your engines, but it is something that can help you get to max speed, because when it dies, you get to hit something. So if you're at like 3 speed and you're like, I need to deal 1 more damage so I can get my max speed stuff online, you attack with this. Your opponent either takes a damage from getting hit or blocks it, and you get to hit them in the face. Right. So it does have that benefit there, and then of course it can saddle / crew as if it had 3 power, which is quite nice. End Rider Spike Spitter. She's missing some teeth. 3 and a red for a 3/4 human mercenary with reach and start your engines. Max speed. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library, and you may play that card this turn. 4 mana 3/4 with reach. It does start your engines. Again, this is like kind of, it feels like a late card. Like 4 mana feels like late to start your engine, unless of course there is sufficient late game cards that do speed stuff. And then of course, excuse me, if you're at max speed, you're able to get, essentially draw 2 cards a turn. It's not literally, what it essentially is. Note, you can play that card this turn, which means you can hit lands and use the lands. So, it's fine. I don't play enough red to know if it's good. Magmakin Artillerist. Okay, so you're a pirate, so I assume you're from the same place the shark people are from. Excuse me. 2 and a red for a 1/4 elemental pirate. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, this creature deals that much damage to each opponent. Cycling of 1 and a red. When you cycle this card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Cool. It's a cycle payoff. It is a 1/4, so it can block pretty nicely. You know, it blocks 3 X's. And can kind of just sit there on defense as you discard a card. As you discard a card and just like paying your opponent to death. And then of course you get the added utility of, if you just need to deal 1 damage to them, you can. Notably, this does deal damage, so it can still be prevented, but it doesn't target, which is very nice. Madeline Bonnie. Yeah, this is why I clicked on the artist, because it seemed like something about this, I was like, there's a card I like by this artist. Yeah, I mean, if you're playing the discard deck, cool. Fucking whale shark. Oh, the whale shark is crazy, dude. Thunderhead Gunner, 4 and a red for a... Is it a whale shark or a basking shark? I actually don't know. I'm not a fucking ichthyologist. Thunderhead Gunner, 4 and a red for a 4/5 Shark Pirate with a reach. Discard a card, draw a card. Activate only as a sorcery and only once each turn. That's understandable. 5 mana 4/5 with reach, totally fine. Obviously not the best, but it's fine, right? It can block the annoying flyers that have been around. Being able to get those discard triggers, essentially being able to just cycle for free every turn, is going to help you in the discard deck. This helps smooth out the rest of your draws, so it's like, oh no, I top decked a land, I get another chance, right? It's only sorcery speed, only once each turn. That's fine. This is another situation where I kind of wish it was activate only during a main phase while the stack is empty, and only once each turn. Because like the reason why this can't be instant speed is because of the things that get value off of being discarded, or having things be discarded, and you don't want to have that like in combat. At least Wizards didn't want to in this situation. So they kept it as sorcery, but I've said it before, I'll say it 1,000 times. I think Wizards needs to play with timing more than they do. Maybe they still think that would be too strong for this card. I don't know. Like, at common, like, maybe they're like, we don't want to mention this deck. Because I know they don't want to mention this deck, but they should. They're stupid. And then they might not want to have a weird situation where newer players don't understand that this includes their opponent's main phase, especially at common. You know, I can understand why they wouldn't. I personally just think that I would prefer if Wizards did more stuff with timing. Sky Crash, Skyfall, 1 and a red for an instant, destroy target artifact with cycling of a red. Hey, look, this set has a lot of artifacts in it. Are you not in a situation where you need to destroy an artifact, but you need something else? Cycle it for a single red mana. It works in the discard deck. It works just in the format. If you're playing red, you can kind of just look at this as removal, because it's going to kill a lot of things. It's going to kill all the vehicles, and it's going to kill a decent number of the other creatures, because there's a decent number of artifact creatures in the set. And if you're in a situation where there's nothing there, okay. Pay 1 mana, get something else. I should mention, like, I haven't mentioned it as much with these. I've mentioned, like, a somewhat tempo loss when you are cycling for 2 generic. That's because 2 versus 1 is a lot of mana, right? It's literally double, or half, depending on the direction. But, like, you're more likely to be able to cycle this into something than cycle a 2 generic into something. So that's why I don't mention it as much for the things that cause a single pip. Road Rage. I'm so angry. Single red for an instant. Road Rage deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, where X is 2+ the number of mounts and vehicles you control. Too loud. I hate. X damage to target creature or planeswalker. X is 2+ number of mounts or vehicles. So at minimum, it's a bad shock. The reason I say bad shock is because it can't go to the dome. I said it in a previous card in the set. This or Planeswalker text has become substantially worse since Wizards went from like 3 Planeswalkers a set to 1. So this value is not as good. Not just in the context of Limited. Like in Limited, if your Planeswalkers are typically going to be Mythic, you're not going to care necessarily as much about this text in Limited. But in something like Standard, where this would actually potentially matter, if there are fewer Planeswalkers being printed, then the chance that a certain mass of Planeswalkers are being played does just, like, by definition decrease. A single vehicle is 3 vehicle amount. This is probably still good enough removal in Limited because of just the sheer amount of vehicles, especially when you're in red, but both mounts and vehicles that are in the set. I really like this set from a mechanical standpoint, insofar as like they chose to just like, hey, we just have cycling in this format. We just have affinity. They just have affinity in this format. It's not like this big hoopla. It's just like, yeah, we think that we've kind of gotten a bit more used to the dials and knobs of affinity. We can have affinity, right? Mounts are back. Vehicles are back. You know, mounts are back from Outlaws. Vehicles are back from the first Kaladesh, and then a bunch of other things after that. Because Wizard was like, you know, vehicles, pretty dope. So yeah, I like this set mechanically a lot, because it feels like a set that is this feels like a very well thought out set. Obviously, I haven't gotten to play with it yet, but it feels like the designers of this set, or I guess the R&D isn't like a thing anymore, but like the people who were like making a web of this format for like limited functionality, I think they did a good job from what I can see. Will it play the same? I don't know. Alacrian Jaguar. That doesn't look like it's part of the helmet. That looks like it's part of its face. It's spooky. 4 and a green for a 4/4 cat mount with Vigilance, saddle 1. When this creature attacks while saddled, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It has Vigilance, which is pretty fucking dope. So saddle 1 means you can saddle it with damn near everything. You get to attack in as a 6/6 with Vigilance for 5. That is good. And then you can hold it back to block as a 4/4. It is a kind of expensive mount, but it is a good mount for what it does. Doesn't have trample, but attacking for 6 with Vigilance is still pretty good. Yeah, I like it. Fang Guardian. The Fang Druid's desired peace, the Grand Prix's interference threatened to awaken old dangers on Maraganda. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Fucking spiky apes. 3 and a green for a 4/2 with Flash. This creature enters. Another target creature or vehicle you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Another target creature. You unfortunately cannot ambush something as a 6/4, which I guess is understandable, but this creature enters. Another target creature or vehicle you control. Okay, it's +2. But you can save something from dying. You can murder something unexpectedly. I don't like 3-mana 4/2s. I do not like 4-mana 4/2s, but this is kinda just like a 2-mana 4/2 with Flash attached to a 2-mana +2/+2. I guess it's technically more like a 1-mana +2/+2 connected to a 3-mana 4/2 with Flash. That's probably more accurate. I do not know how good this will be. I think it depends a lot on the speed of the format. Haha, speed. Broken Wings has been reprinted. Possibly with my favorite art. Nope. Nothing beats the Streets of New Capenna art. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Very good. Especially in this limited environment, you're going to see a lot of artifacts. There are going to be plenty of creatures with flying. Not a ton of enchantments, but hey, there are a non-zero number, and you can blow them up with this. So, Migrating Ketradon. The fuck is that thing, man? 4 dub green for a 6/6 dinosaur with reach. When this creature enters, you gain 4. Cycling of 2 generic. I mean, yeah, it's a good old-fashioned 6-mana 6/6. It's instead of Colossal Dreadmaw, it's a Colossal Neckmaw. I don't, because it's reach. Yeah, no, this is a totally fine green card where you're like, hey, it's early on. I have this card kind of stuck in my hand. Cycle it away. Bada bing, bada boom. You don't have to deal with it. Yeah, no, it's a reasonable common. What the fuck is that? Gibberic Omnivore. That motherfucker's eating tires. 1 and a green for a 3/2 creature beast. That's it. Hey, look, it's a vanilla. It's a non-legendary vanilla. We haven't seen these in a while. It's just 3/2 instead of a 2/3, which I don't love. I'm the type of motherfucker who prefers the fat ass on a magic card, but it crews nicely. It just dies to the grizzly bears. And the grizzly bears in the set are very good, so there's probably going to be a lot of grizzly bears running around. Hazard of the Dunes. 3 and a green for a 4/4 worm with trample and reach, and exhaust of 6 and a green. Put 3 moment counters on this creature. 4 mana 4/4 with trample and reach already right there. Solid. 4 mana 4/4 with trample and reach. Solid. Solid card. It eats Windrakes. Hell, it eats 3 mana 3/3 flyers even. It's 3 mana 3/4 flyers even. And then like 3 turns later, if you're hitting all of your land drops, you just make it a 7/7. Like it's a lot of mana, right? It's a 9, 10, 11 mana for 7/7 trample reach, but when you're able to pay that across multiple turns, and the thing that you have in the interim is good by itself, that just seems like a fine card. Plow through. Single green for a sorcery. Choose one. Target creature you control fights target creature and opponent controls, or destroy target vehicle. That's fucking hilarious. Yeah, it's a sorcery that fights something or blows something up. I think, again, in this format, this is probably just a really strong card because the sheer number of vehicles running around. And if you happen to have a punchy dude, punch the dude, you know? Sure. Or you can run him over. Run over a single generic and a green for an instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast if it targets a mount or vehicle that you control. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. Okay, I don't know why my brain was bad. What the fuck? Is this not just better? I guess it doesn't have the it costs 1 more, kind of, and it doesn't have the ability to blow up a vehicle, but like this is a punch, right? This is not a fight. Or it's a bite instead of a fight. It just deals the damage to your opponent's creature. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. Yeah. Yeah. If you have punchy dude, it's punchy hard. If you happen to be targeting a mount or a vehicle, it punchy hard. Note, your vehicle does have to be a creature in order to do this. Target creature you control deals damage. So it's not like you can't, like, there's no situation where you can like target a vehicle and like, oops, it happens to not be a creature. In order for you to target the vehicle, it has to be a creature at the time. Now, if your vehicle no longer is a creature, then it can fizzle. But you can just slap with an artifact. No, it has to be crewed because it's not a vehicle. It's not a creature unless it's crewed. I mean, you can slap them with an artifact. You just have to drive it into their face. You know, this feels like a very strong common card. Like, you're playing a decent number of mounts or vehicles. Like, you just played this card. We saw in I think it was OTJ. I think at Thunder Junction we had a similar card that just targeted mounts, and it was good. Like, it was very good. So this does mounts and vehicles. I think that card did buff by a little before punching, but it good uncommon, or a good common. Excuse me. That is hideous. Pothole Mole. Huna Green for a 2/3 mole. When this creature enters, mill 3 cards, then you may return a land card from your graveyard to your hand. You want stuff in your graveyard? This'll help. That is unpleasant to look at. I'm gonna move on. Silken Strength. 1 and a green for an aura with flash, enchant creature or vehicle. When this aura enters, untap enchanted permanent. Enchanted permanent gets +1/+2 and has reach. Ha ha ha, not so fast. You thought I was not able to block your flyer. Well, you are wrong. Yeah, I mean, 2 mana flash. Yeah, 2 mana flash, it gets to untap your thing. This is a combat trick, right? We've seen effects like this that are just like some amount of mana, untap your thing, and give it a buff. This happens to stick around. It's cool. Broadside Barrage. Okay. So we got a group harass looking fish. a saw shark, a great white with an eye patch, what appears to be a human, a monkey, a hammerhead, bull shark, perhaps? It's weird. No, so this has to be a ray, but it has a fin though. Because the sky ray that we saw had a facial structure like this, but the sharks, like the rest of the fish, have a correct facial structure, where their eyes are on top of their fucking head where they should be. I don't know. Anyway, 1 blue-red for an instant. Broadside Barrage deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Draw a card, then discard a card. Yep, it is removal. Notably, you're forced to draw a card and discard. So if you have no cards in hand, you're essentially milling 1. But it's 3 mana to deal 5 damage to a creature. That's good. Sometimes you'll hit a planeswalker. It's not gonna be frequently. But 3 mana, 5 something. Yeah, it's good. Gastal Thrillseeker, black red for a lizard berserker to 2/3 with start your engines. When this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target opponent, and you gain 1 life. Max speed. This creature has death touch and haste. Look, it's a 2 mana 2/3 that starts your engines and immediately puts your engine to 2. Because when you start your engines, it starts that shit at 1. It enters, deals 1 damage to your opponent. That means your opponent has lost life, which means it increases once. Your speed is now 2. If you have max speed already, this is just a 2 mana 2/3 with death touch and haste. You also gain 1 life off of the ability. I don't care about that. I'm more looking at, hey, I'm gonna beat the crap out of your face. Guide Light Matrix. 2 generic for an artifact. When this artifact enters, draw a card. 2 tap, target mount you control becomes saddled until end of turn, only activate a sorcery. 2 tap, target vehicle you control becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. That's interesting. So it's a card that replaces itself. When it comes to the mounts, for what it's worth, saddling a mount only matters during your turn. I think including the activate only as a sorcery is actually to help newer players, because a lot of the advice you'll get as a newer player is like, do things at instant speed because you wait to the last second so you have all of the information. It's the new player curve. It's does everything at sorcery speed. Thinks you should only do things at instant speed. Realizes sometimes you should be doing things at sorcery speed. And then of course the vehicle you can do it whenever. Although you can still have the same problem because if you're in declare attacks, it's too late to crew your vehicle. So I don't know. It's a little strange that one of these has activate only with sorcery and the other one doesn't, but I think it's fine. Like it still works. It is strange to see a common with that though. I never do anything. Activate only as sorcery. Activate only as instant. Activate sometimes. I'm not playing the game. Camera launcher. It's throwing Thopters. The Thopters are its legs. The Thopters are dead ass its legs. Interesting. 3 generic for a 2/2 construct with exhaust of 3 generic. Put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Make a Thopter. You're losing a leg. How are you getting bigger? Lies. Absolute lies. I mean, look, it's a generic 2/2. Sometimes you need that in your deck. It can be a 3/3 with a Thopter friend. In this format where you can care about artifacts, this is probably better than otherwise. But it is just a generic dude. Skybox Fairy. This is where the rich people are watching the race. Less mass equal go faster. It's science. Huh? That is fair. Well, no, not necessarily. I'm not doing physics. I hate physics. All right. Skybox Ferry, 5 generic for a 4/4 flying vehicle with cycling 2 and crew 2. This is like people have picked all of the colored vehicles. I desperately need like one more vehicle to make sure I have a certain amount of them in my deck. You pick this and you're okay with it. Walking Sarcophagus. 2 generic for a 2/1 artifact creature zombie cat with start your engines. Max speed. This creature gets +1/+2. So it becomes a 3/3 for 2, but early on it's a 2/1. This card is what I like to call absolutely fine. It's probably just fine in start your engine decks in general, because it is a cheap start card that it only costs 2. You don't like your mana can be garbage, and you still can play this on curve because it's generic. Yeah, it's fine. It's not like flashy, but it's fine. Ticket Tortoise. That's not a turtle, my guy. That is a construct through and through. 2 generic for a 3/1 with Defender. When this creature enters, if an opponent controls more lands than you, make a treasure. That's a hilarious stat line for a Defender, but like, yeah, that's fine. Especially for a turtle. It's very weird to see a turtle as a 3 power creature with only 1 toughness. Like, that feels wrong. But, who cares? If opponent controls more lands you. So, okay, so you go second. Opponent plays a land, you play a land, they play a land, you play a land, they play a land. On your turn 3, you can play this, get a treasure, then play a land. I don't know. I don't care about this card, like, at all. Siphon Fuel, alright. Let's see. Type line, we're not going to do... we're going to do toughness greater than or equal to... No. Greater than 6. Set name, Aetherdrift. This should bring the vehicles as well. Yes, it did. Okay. So theoretically, of all of the creatures and all of the creatures and the vehicles in the set, this only misses 6 of them. 7 of them, my bad. And 4 of those are mythics. 2 of them are uncommons, 1 of them is common. Or rare. Like, this card does hit... this card hits functionally everything in this set. Let's see, so that's 6. Boop. Let's then do less than or equal to 6. 169. So it misses 7 and hits 169 of the not just creatures, the creatures and vehicles in the set. For what it's worth, that is before like exhausting shenanigans that can make it bigger, but still, right? Even though this costs 5, I think it's still going to be a pretty good removal spell because it hits goddamn everything, and you gain a little bit of life back. So, all right, what was I doing? Aetherdrift name. God damn it. Just want the one art. I don't need all the fucking different arts. Let me spoiler cycle. Okay, that was weird. Okay, so the Gearhulks We have the legendary creatures for the color combos. I'm assuming these are the signpost wait, no. Oh, okay. So we have the allied then enemy. Okay. So this is artifact card. I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get this. Yeah, that doesn't. I'm pretty sure red green's exhaust, and then this is mounts and vehicles. Is blue red the discard card? The discard thing? Green red also exhaust? What the I don't understand. Let's see. Aetherdrift, limited archetypes. Thank you, Reddit. Artifact value. Build up a board of artifacts, and you hit them. Artifact Bleeder. Okay, scale your opponent silly with a combination of robots and possessed toys that pressure your opponent's life total. Okay. Max speed aggro. Ensure you reach max speed. Sure. Exhaust mid range. Vehicles and mounts mid range. Max speed attrition. Okay, so white black is max speed, but kind of slow. Interesting. Blue red discard aggro. Black green graveyard. Red white vehicles and mounts aggro. Oh. Okay. I definitely thought red white was also max speed, but I was wrong. Green red or green blue exhaust ramp. Okay. Sure. Sure. So the archetypes that I'm looking at are max speed aggro, artifact value, and vehicles and mounts mid-range. These feel like good archetypes based on what I've seen from the cards. Yes, I vibe with them. Punch motherfuckers, make them die. Yes. Oh, that's all the cards in the set. If I were to, let's see, sort by rarity, please. Let's see, favorite mythic, probably. Man, it'd be crazy if you were able to exile stuff. My favorite mythic is probably Salvation Engine. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's Salvation Engine. God, I fucking hate that they can't just have a single thing. Fuck you. See, that's what confuses me, is that this wants discard. I guess that's graveyard, but I really thought there would be a dedicated discard that had black in it. And or red, but we can only be so right. Anyway, that's all for today. Jesus Christ. I am looking forward to playing limited in this set. I don't even know what the fuck. What the fuck came out last on Arena? Bets. No. Oh, Pioneer Masters. Pioneer Masters and Foundations, yeah. Played the shit out of Duskmourn. I didn't play Foundations or Pioneer Masters at all. Not one bit. Not one smidgen. But I think I'm probably going to enjoy drafting this set. We'll see about it. 103rd expansion. What's the 100th expansion? Outlaws? Huh. Assuming this is accurate, I'm surprised Wizards didn't... We didn't do anything special for that, right? I'm a little surprised. Okay, spooky music. Anyway. That's it for today. I'm Finnabout. Peace. Thanks for hanging.